Ever had the sheriff show up at your house because you were swimming in your own damn lake? Yeah, that happened one minute. I'm drifting in cool water as the sun's sinking behind the pines, feeling that rare peace that comes after a long day. And the next, police lights are strobing across my dock, and a bullhorn is cutting through the cicadas. Deputy Martinez looked just as confused as I felt. But rules are rules, he said, and he handed me a citation for unauthorized recreational water usage in a lake my grandfather dug by hand, decades before there was a subdivision, before anyone had even heard of Karen Whitmore. You know that feeling when something is so absurd, all you can do is stand there dripping wet, squinting at the official seal on a piece of paper that says you owe $1,000 for swimming on your own land? Karen standing just out of reach, arms crossed, smug smile, pretending to feel sorry for me except her eyes are sharp as nails. I looked right at her and said, "Ma'am, this is my lake. Built this dock myself while you were still fighting California traffic." But she just turned away like she'd already won. You ever dealt with someone like that? Drop a comment, tell me where you're from, because I guarantee this isn't just a North Carolina problem. Now, let me back up and show you how I landed in this mess. My name's Garrett Henderson. 3 years ago, my wife Sarah died after 22 years of marriage. Cancer taking her quick and cruel, and there are mornings when I swear I can still smell her coffee brewing in the kitchen. After she passed, I couldn't breathe in the city, couldn't stand the noise or the pity in people's eyes, so I took early retirement and headed to the one place I'd ever truly felt at Hominy grandfather's old place. For acres and a spring-fed lake in the Carolina woods, a cabin built after Korea, the smell of pine and the call of loons echoing across the water, the kind of silence that lets you hear your own heart again. That lake saved me, same as it saved Pop, and for a while, I found a little peace drinking coffee from Sarah's chipped mug, watching the mist roll off the water at dawn, listening to the trout jump, fixing things around cabin. I'd done 20 years as a county finance director, learned how bureaucracy works, how some folks weaponize the rules just to make other people's lives miserable. But even with all that, I wasn't ready for what happened when Karen Whitmore moved in. The first signs were subtle, her neighborly visits, the way her heels clicked across gravel like a warning, bringing cookies that tasted like chemicals and smiling just a little too wide. She offered to buy my land for about 60 cents on the dollar. When I said no, the smile faded and the complaint started. First about my dock, then my trout, then some dusty ordinance about water permits she'd dragged out of a legal time capsule. Within 2 years, there were 50 McMansions surrounding my place, all staring at my lake like it was their God-given right to decide who swam in it. And Karen, well, she'd installed herself as HOA president faster than you can say conflict of interest, driving her white BMW around like a police cruiser, clipboard in hand. But you know what they say about poking the wrong bear. Karen didn't know I'd spent decades reading legal code, rooting out fraud, catching more than one crooked contractor in the act. The day she called the sheriff on me, she crossed a line. 2 weeks later, she brought Bacopa County inspector named Randy who looked about as legit as a $3 bill, waving his clipboard and threatening daily fines unless I produced a business license for my commercial fishing operation. I almost laughed. This wasn't a business. It was my home. But I played along, let them hang themselves with their own red tape. Turns out Randy's inspector license had expired years ago. He'd been running the same scam in 3 counties, shaking down anyone who didn't know better. I filed a complaint with the state, gathered every shred of paperwork. I had permits, water tests, even the deed from 1952. Then I started digging through public records, and what I found was like hitting the revenge lottery. Karen's precious subdivision, built smack on a state forest buffer, 3 houses including her cousin's trespassing on public land. The county sent violation notices that week. I could hear her shrieking from across the lake. Karen didn't quit, no. She doubled down, filed more complaints, went on the news claiming I was polluting the water. So when the news crew showed up, I met them with a pitcher of clear lake water, drank it right there on camera, and handed them the environmental reports. Megan, the reporter, turned the tables on Karen, asked for a proof, watched her fumble and sweat, and start blaming community concerns instead of facts. It got even better when I mentioned her sketchy real estate deals out west. The story flipped, and suddenly, I wasn't the villain Karen was. Of course, next came the lawsuits, the cease and desist letters from overpriced Charlotte attorneys, Karen's cronies driving by at all hours, the anonymous complaints, the whole death by 1,000 paper cuts routine. But I knew the playbook. I'd seen bureaucrats like her grind people down until they gave up. So I leaned and spent weekends at the records office, pulled HOA financials, and discovered she'd been siphoning off funds for maintenance contracts to her husband and cousin, skimming tens of thousands while raising everyone's fees. I found the smoking gun. 85 grand from the HOA's reserves used as a down payment on a beach condo, disguised as emergency repairs. By this point, I had allies Janet, a retired teacher Karen fined for a bird bath, Bob, an accountant who found 43 grand missing from the budget, Lisa, the civil engineer whose original drainage plans Karen had butchered to save money, causing flooding across my land. Together, we built a case so airtight even Karen's attorney looked queasy. And then came the kicker. The original HOA charter let me join as a voting member, with my property size giving me 30% control. Karen, in her rush to control me, had handed me the keys to her own little fiefdom. At the next meeting, moved last minute to Karen's garage, as if that would save her. I walked in, binder in hand, and watched her lose it in front of the whole neighborhood. Accusations flew. Police were called. Channel 7 filmed the meltdown. Karen's supporters backed away as the facts piled up. Fraud, embezzlement, illegal surveillance, the works. By the end, she was screaming about conspiracies, waving fake mental health reports, and claiming I was plotting to poison the water supply. Then the county prosecutor stepped forward, read her the charges, and the sheriff put her in cuffs as the whole room watched. You know what real victory tastes like? It's not the applause or even the sight of Karen's U-Haul full of stolen pool equipment getting searched by deputies. It's the way neighbors started talking again, sharing food, fixing fences, laughing over burgers by the lake. We rebuilt the HOA from scratch, transparent budgets, open meetings, every oppressive rule overturned. Property values shot up, fees dropped, and for the first time in years, the lake echoed with real joy, not petty threats. 6 months on, I still miss Sarah every day, but I see her spirit in the community we saved, in the kids learning to fish from the old dock, in the laughter drifting across the water. If there's a lesson here, it's that justice isn't automatic. It takes neighbors standing up, telling the truth, and refusing to back down, no matter how many times a petty tyrant comes knocking. So what about you? Ever tangled with a Karen, or had to fight for what's right in your own backyard? Drop your wildest HOA or neighbor from hell stories below. Let's get a real debate going. Where do you draw the line between order and overreach, between community and control? And if you're dealing with your own tyrant, don't just take it band together, keep the receipts, and remember, sometimes the good guys really do win. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some trout to feed, and for the first time in a long time, a community to enjoy.